Hello, and in today's video we are doing Premier League predictions for match week number 20 of the 2023 to 24 season. That's right, we're back with predictions for the Premier League, and it's match week number 20, which is after the Boxing Day games and after the match week 18 fixtures that we predicted together basically in last video. So if you did enjoy that one, make sure you did check it out if you haven't already. Smash a like on it. Thanks for those that got all their score predictions as well, because, you know, I appreciate with the festive season just finished, it was a busy time for a lot of people. So thanks to all those that always comment their predictions every week, and I really appreciate it. The likes of Colm Boogler, the likes of, we've got so many there. So I'll just quickly go through the predictions for match week number 18 and 19 to see how many we got right. Of course, Ballum always predicts his as well. And Ballum went for Newcastle 10, Nottingham Forest 0. I think he might have had a bit too much Christmas sherry for that prediction. Said well done for Steve Cooper on the job he did there. That must have been maybe just as Cooper got sacked. Obviously, Nuno Espirito Santo came in and they lost the first game against Bournemouth 3-2, but then they absolutely destroyed Newcastle 3-1. So great result. Nuno Espirito Santo's record against Newcastle is actually very good, and he won a couple of times, I think, with Wolves and with Spurs at St James's Park. So a fabulous win for Nottingham Forest. Chris Wood hat-trick, and yeah, Newcastle defence just not looking good at the moment. So crazy times, and really good performance, I thought, against Bournemouth, but they still showing those defensive problems. And, you know, a goal for Elanga, really well taken goal, slotting it home, but also that other goal for Nottingham Forest. I mean, look, at the end of the day, that red card for Willy Bolly was ridiculous. The two yellows, a bit harsh, to be honest, to put it lightly. And you kind of thought, oh, Nottingham Forest, you know, they're going to do well here. They keep plugging away and they're looking like they could get something from this game. But every time they went, you know, back in the game, Nottingham Forest, Bournemouth just hit back straight away. And, you know, after the really sad events of that Bournemouth-Luton game, back in Gameweek 17, the game was postponed and the game was scheduled to be played at a later date after Tom Lockyer's cardiac arrest. So Bournemouth, after that traumatic event, recovered really well to win at Nottingham Forest. And yeah, as I said, Forest, not a bad performance. Chris Wood with the other goal. And then, of course, he got the hat-trick in game week 19. But yeah, I'm sure Nottingham Forest fans will be very pleased with that one. I'm afraid for you, Colm and Ballum, your predictions from that Nottingham Forest Newcastle game didn't exactly go to plan, did it? Because actually, looking at it now, Colm went for match week 18's games and said a Forest game 1-1 draw. So actually, yeah, no points there, but no points for Ballum in the Newcastle prediction. 10-0, pretty crazy. Ballum also said 0-0 Bournemouth-Fulham. He thought it could be goalless. Well, it was a fabulous win for Bournemouth after that win at Nottingham Forest. They followed it up with another fabulous performance, and they're just really cooking now under Andone Iraola. Andone Iraola's got them playing attacking football now. Solanke's in the form of his career. Hat-trick against Nottingham Forest, his first senior hat-trick, and then scored again against Fulham from the spot. So wonderful goals right now from Bournemouth. And yeah, Justin Kluivert with his first goal, I believe, at the Vitality. Scored, of course, that crazy, freakish, massive mistake of a goal against Sheffield United a few weeks back. But yeah, Kluivert getting on the score sheet there, and ultimately a really good win. And Fulham absolutely, you know, turning the corner, really. Those two good wins against West Ham, Nottingham Forest, 5-0 successive, and then really poor against Burnley in game week 18, and then again against Bournemouth. So yeah, not looking good. Obviously, they got thumped by Newcastle as well. So yeah, defensively not looking good for Fulham at the moment, but a great win for Bournemouth. So no points for you there, Ballum. You also said, Ballum, a 1-0 Luton win at Sheffield United, and thanked Luton good luck in this match. Well, I'm pretty sure, Ballum, as far as I've remembered, you're a Watford fan, I think. So can't be wishing Luton luck in any game. So, no, fair play, Luton. You know, the last couple of games, the Newcastle one was obviously a very emotional one for Tom Lockyer. And, they were doing it for him, and they won the game. Newcastle were just absolutely terrible. I mean, so wasteful. That really good cross from Anthony Gordon, the header for Wilson, wasteful. And yeah, in the end, that goal from on Andros Townsend against his former side was enough. And then the Sheffield United game, I mean, it looked like it was going to be Sheffield United's win, 2-1 up, and then Sheffield United, causing their own downfall, really, their own worst enemy, with 2 own goals to gift Luton a Boxing Day present of a victory, really. So, yeah, fair play, Luton. They kept on plugging away, but really got handed to them. So, yeah, it's back-to-back wins now for Luton, and they're not doing too badly, are they? Which I hate to say, but I'm still confident they will get relegated. I just think there's not going to be more than, a few worse teams than them. I still feel them, Burnley and Sheffield United, are so cut off at the moment. But you never know if, someone like a Fulham goes on a bad run, or an Everton slips in if they start being worse than they have recently. I know they lost against Tottenham, and obviously they lost in their game against Man City, but recently Everton have been better, and of course, Nottingham Forest, they'll have to try and revive themselves under Santos, so we'll have to see. But yeah, look, fair play, 5 points for the correct goal difference there from New Balance, because you said 1-0 and it was of course 3-2. Also, another stupid prediction. He went for another 10-0. It just doesn't happen, mate. It just doesn't happen. The 9-0, the Southampton-Leicester, fair enough, but that was a few seasons ago now. It just doesn't happen, mate. And yeah, 10-0 Liverpool. LFC needed to win it. They certainly did that. 2-0. Darwin Núñez finally gets on the score sheet after really frustrating the last few weeks. I mean, against Liverpool's game with Arsenal, he was so poor. And, just hasn't scored for game and game. But finally then, against Burnley, and then also a goal from, a player who, to be fair, has needed a goal. It's been a while, but Diogo Jota comes off the bench and gets a really well-taken finish, just sliding it through the legs there of the keeper Trafford. So, yeah, look, really good win for Liverpool. It gets them at the top of the league in the time of recording. It's Thursday night at the moment. Of course, Arsenal kicking off tonight against the Hammers. So they'll be hoping to claim top spot again. You would imagine they will, but we'll have to see. But anyway, Liverpool at least keeping the pace with Arsenal. So it's an exciting title race for sure. Then we also had predictions from elsewhere. So with that Liverpool game, that's 3 points for the correct result. But then you said 1-1 at Balham against Wolves for Brentford. And of course, it was a Brentford battering, given by Wolves to Brentford. It was absolutely amazing stuff from Wolves. Hwang Hee-chan, what a season it's been for him. I mean, 10 goals this season and 8 goals in the 2 seasons previous combined. So it just shows how much of a better season he's had in 23-24. And really, really great season for him. He's obviously going to go off to the Asia Cup in a few weeks' time, but what a player he's been this season for Wolves. And Brentford just imploding defensively this season. Without David Raya, I think that's really hurt them. Obviously, Ben Mee was suspended with his red card against Aston Villa. But yeah, terrible from Brentford, and a really good win. Bellegarde on the score sheet as well. So yeah, really good win from Wolves, but you went for a draw, so no points there. You also said 0-0 Chelsea Palace. You thought Palace of the South East in London need to reply back to my email, apparently. Don't know what that's about, but you said a 0-0 draw, and it was a 2-1 Chelsea win with a Noni Madueke first Chelsea Premier League goal at Stamford Bridge. Of course, he scored at Old Trafford, I think, at the end of last season. But ultimately, a good penalty, stuck it away after it was a kind of silly foul made at the end by Eberechi Eze. And ultimately, with no Cole Palmer with his suspension, Madueke stepped up, and it was a good penalty, so fair play. Obviously, it's ironic that Michael Elise scores for Palace, the team he was going to go to, Chelsea, in the summer, but then, of course, the transfer fell through, so, showing them what they missed. And, another goal for Chelsea as well from Mr. Mudryk. So, good win for Chelsea, and ultimately they needed that after the disappointment of the Wolves game. Looking at the next game, it was Everton-Manchester City. You went for a 10-0 Man City. Well, you just can't help yourself, can you, with these 10-0s? It was, of course, a 3-1 victory, but it didn't look like it was going to be comfortable for a long time because Man City go 1-0 down, a goal from Jack Harrison, and then you think, well, Everton could really do well with this because they've held on, had a good defence the last few weeks, but they hit back Man City, and it was a really, really good win in the end because Bernardo Silva, Julian Alvarez from the penalty spot, and yeah, ultimately a really good win for Man City. So fair play. 3 points there for your prediction. Then Brighton Spurs, you said for 2-2. That's still to happen tonight, so we'll have to see if that comes true. But, you know, fair enough. Not the worst of weeks. You also said 1-0 West Ham against Arsenal. So that's an interesting one. But let's see how it goes in match week number 20. And then we also had Colm's predictions. He went for a 3-0 Aston Villa win. So this was back in game week 18. So if we quickly look at the results from game week 18, as I mentioned, some interesting ones here. We also had a massive win for Manchester United against Aston Villa, 3-2. But for match week 19, you went for a 3-0 Villa win against Sheffield United, and that was a bad mistake, really, because Villa were looking like they were going to lose that game, and then end up drawing in the end with a late equaliser there for Villa from Nicolo Zaniolo, his first goal for Aston Villa. And yeah, how Sheffield United didn't hold on, I'm not quite sure, but Cameron Archer against his former side, you know, important goal for Sheffield United at least, and you know, it's good to see they're improving recently. Obviously, the game against Luton was unfortunate, but they might pick up a few points here or there. So no points for you, Colm. You also said 2-1 West Ham against Man United. Correct result, 3 points. No correct goal difference or scoreline, but at least the 3 points. You know, United were dreadful in that game. Obviously much better against Villa, with Rasmus Højlund getting his first goal in the Premier League for Manchester United, and 2 from Garnacho, where he had 1 ruled out. But yeah, 2 goals, really good comeback from Manchester United after goals from Dendoncker and John McGinn. A bit of a fluky free kick, that one. But a really good win for West Ham against Man United. And Jared Bowen, after he scored against Wolves, kept it up, scored against Manchester United, and so did Mohamed Kudus, who, to be fair, when he goes to AFCON in a couple of weeks, West Ham are going to really miss him. So, yeah, it is interesting. But no correct score, at least 3 points there. Fulham Burnley, you went for a 4-1 Fulham. I mean, as a Fulham fan, I can understand it, but it was not exactly the best prediction, because Burnley won that 2-0 with goals in that game from Sander Berge, his first Premier League goal of the season, I believe, and of course a wonderful strike from Amdouni. Really, really good hit from him. And ultimately, or was it Amdouni? No, sorry, it was Odebear. So, sorry, I apologise for that. Odebear got the goal. And of course, Burnley, you know, in the game against Liverpool, they huffed and they puffed, but they couldn't score in that one. So, but yeah, fantastic win for Burnley. It's good to see they're starting to improve as well. But no points for you. You said also a 1-0 Luton against Newcastle, and it was... you said a 3-1 Newcastle, and it was 1-0 Luton. Again, not many people thought that. People thought Newcastle would win that, but fair play, Luton defied the odds. So no points again. Not looking a great week for you, this is it, Colm, in game week 18. You also said 1-1 Forest against Bournemouth, and that was, of course, 3-2, so still no points. You said 2-1 Spurs win, and that is exactly what it was. So, firstly, your first scoreline bang-on prediction from the video. Very, very well done for you, Colm. Yeah, it was 2-1. Andre Gomez with a late equaliser, consolation, I should say, at the end for Everton. But goals from Son Heung-min and Richarlison against his former side got Spurs the win. And then Liverpool-Arsenal, you went for a 2-2 draw. I also went for a 2-2 draw in that one, but it was a 1-1, so at least correct goal difference, 5 points. But good result in the end for both sides. They huffed and puffed, but, you know, goals from Gabriel and also for Liverpool, a wonderful goal from Mohamed Salah. So, yeah, fair enough. That was a great game. And then, of course, you said 2-1 Chelsea against Wolves, and it was 2-1 to Wolves, so no points there. So, ultimately, not a great week for the predictions from probably all of us, to be honest, if we're perfectly honest about things. I think I did get a few correct scorelines in there. So, for instance, I did, I think, say 2-1 Chelsea against Crystal Palace, if I remember rightly. Also, I think I did have a prediction of a nice little... Was it? No, it was the Villa game I got wrong. So, yeah, I think that was probably one of the few ones I got right. But still, I'll take that. It's better than nothing. So, moving on to match week number 20 then, for the Premier League. These are the fixtures in match week 20. Some really interesting games, to be honest, because match week 20 kicks off with Luton against Chelsea on Saturday morning, or afternoon, I should say. The game on TNT Sports at the Kenilworth Road. Now, they have won against Newcastle and against Sheffield United. Now, Sheffield United, more winnable. Luton beating Newcastle was a bit more of a shock. But maybe it's not so much of a shock with how Newcastle defended recently. Now, Chelsea, we know, have not been exactly squeaky clean defensively this season. So there's a chance Luton scoring this, but I still feel Chelsea have got enough quality. They showed it against Crystal Palace in midweek. So I'll say Luton Town 1, Chelsea 3. Goal scorers here, I think Luton will score first through Jacob Brown. But then Chelsea's goal scorers will say a bit of Christopher Nkunku. Then a second goal for Chelsea, this time from Cole Palmer, who's back from his suspension. And then finally, Chelsea's third is going to be Levi Colwill. Now, it's Aston Villa versus Burnley, and I think this will be a Villa win by a long way, because Villa at home have been much better than away. Obviously, they lost in the game against Manchester United, but, you know, they did play well for most of that game. It was just a crazy turnaround from Manchester United. And I know they didn't win against Sheffield United, but, you know, every team has their blips sometimes. But Burnley, from a defensive point of view, has still been pretty poor this season. So I think Villa fill their boots here. I'll say Villa 4, Aston Villa, 4 goals, and then Burnley 1. Get 1 goal, Burnley, from, let's say, Lyle Foster. But then Villa's goal scorers will be 2 from Ollie Watkins, 1 from Douglas Luiz, and then 1 from Mr. Leon Bailey. Now, it's Crystal Palace versus Brentford. Now, in the past, this has often been a 0-0. So, don't think this is going to be a high scorer, because in the reverse fixture, I think it ended 1-1 with a Joachim Andersen goal, and I think Johan Wissa scored before that, possibly. But ultimately, I feel this game ends with another score draw. I just don't think it'll be a 0-0 this time. So I'll say Crystal Palace 1, Brentford 1, yet again. And Brentford's goal scorer, I think, will be a bit of Pinnock. But Palace's goal comes from Michael Elise. Now, it's Man City, Sheffield United. I think Sheffield United could well receive a massive battering here. Now, it's unlikely that Erling Haaland will feature for much of this game. We'll have to see if he makes a very quick recovery, because he wasn't in the game against Everton, and it's obviously, not that far away, the game against Sheffield United. So I would say, maybe it's unlikely that with a kind of 3-day gap that they don't play this one with Erling Haaland. But even if Haaland doesn't play, they've still got Julian Alvarez, of course, scored in the game at Everton with a penalty spot. And also, they've got players like Bernardo Silva, who scored against Everton. They've got, players like Rodri, who can kind of come into that midfield. I know he got injured in the Club World Cup, but hopefully he'll be back for Sheffield United. And then they've got like Grealish, Foden, Doku obviously had this injury, but there's still so many options, and I feel City can really get a few. So I feel say Man City 4, Sheffield United 1, because Man City always concede at least 1. I think Sheffield United's goal scorer will probably be Oliver Norwood, but then City's goal scorers, I'll say a hat-trick from Julian Alvarez, and then 1 for Man City from Phil Foden. Then it's Wolves against Everton. Now, this is a game I can see Wolves winning comfortably, because I know that Everton have been better recently, but I still feel that Wolves, on their day, can score enough goals, especially at Molineux. I think Everton will make this, find this a hard game. Wolves were really impressive against Chelsea recently, and now they just smashed Brentford. So I think Everton might find this a tricky one. I'll say Wolves 2, Everton 1. Goal scorers, I'll say Hwang Hee-chan to get a goal for Wolves, then Everton to score through midfielder Mr. Amadou Onana, and then Wolves' second goal scorer will go for is going to be Mateus Cunha. Then it's Forest against Manchester United. It's the game on Sky Sports at 5:30, and it's live. And I think this will be a game at the City Ground where Manchester United get defeated. Yes, you heard it here first. I think Nuno Espirito Santo's side, they often find ways, Nottingham Forest, of getting big results against big teams at the City Ground. And Manchester United, I know they won against Villa, but I think away from home they're still suspect. And I will say Nottingham Forest 1, Manchester United 0. And I think the only goal comes from Mr. Chris Wood. Now, it's Fulham versus Arsenal. I'm going for a Fulham win. No, I'm joking. I'm going for an Arsenal win. I genuinely think Arsenal are looking good now. They're really top of the table, doing well. And ultimately, I think they're also scoring goals. So I'll say Fulham 0, Arsenal 3. Goal scorers here, Bukayo Saka, Martin Ødegaard, and then the third for Arsenal, I'm going for Kai Havertz. Next up, it's Tottenham against Bournemouth. Now, actually, Havertz might be suspended. Is he suspended? I'm not sure. We'll go for it anyway. If not, if Arsenal can't have Havertz playing, then instead we'll say someone like Saliba. But Spurs-Bournemouth, I think this is going to be an open game. Bournemouth score goals, Spurs score goals. I'll say Tottenham Hotspur 2, Bournemouth 1. Solanke will score first for the Cherries, but then Spurs hit back with goals from Son Heung-min and Richarlison, assisted by Mr. Pedro Porro. Now it's finally the first game of match week 2024, I should say, Liverpool-Newcastle, and it is of course the classic fixture at Anfield that has one of the most goals in the Premier League in history. Now, of course, Collymore closing in. Liverpool lead in stoppage time. And isn't it this the fixture that it was? I'd love it if we beat them. I'd love it. But anyway, I will have to say Liverpool win this one by 3-1. Newcastle defensively just been ropey recently, so Newcastle will score through Anthony Gordon against his former rivals when he was at Everton. Then Liverpool goal scorers, I think one from Mohamed Salah, a second from Mohamed Salah, and then the third Liverpool goal, we're going to go for it from Mr. Harvey Elliott. And then it is West Ham Brighton on Tuesday, the 2nd of January 2024. Happy New Year, everyone. West Ham take on Brighton, where really, I think this game has goals for both sides. Brighton can't keep clean sheets. West Ham score goals through the likes of Jarrod Bowen and the like. So I'll go for West Ham 2, Brighton and Hove Albion 2. Brighton's goal scorers, I think Buonanotte, and second goal for Brighton will come from Pascal Gross. But then West Ham scorers, Jarrod Bowen, and then a goal from Mr. Yes, up front, it is going to be Mr. Mubama. You've never heard it before, but yes, he will get his first goal of the season for West Ham in this fixture. If it isn't him, because he probably won't play any minutes, then we'll just go for someone like Ward-Prowse. So that wraps up my predictions for match week number 20 of the Premier League season. Do get your score predictions in the comments. Remember, there's midweek games kind of coming up at some point in the new year, but that's not yet. So get your weekend predictions in now before the new year starts on 2024. Let's get those predictions in because, of course, there's a break after the match week 20 games. There's a winter break, so there'll be action yet again on the 13th of Jan. But get your score predictions in for match week 20, and I'll see you in the next one, people. Bye-bye, everyone.